Hey guys, Ben Labadie here, and I am with Henry Svec, and this is Business Entrepreneur Weekly. Now, we usually do this on the Live with Ben page, so if you guys haven't watched it or not familiar with it, this is different from our show that we do Tuesday nights, which is more about psychology and everything going on with that. But this is Business Entrepreneur Weekly, so we're going to be talking about local business, and this is brought to you by PIReporters.com, fighting for your community. And again, this is Business Entrepreneur Weekly, reporting local business. And Henry, can you just talk a little bit about that PIReporters.com for a minute?
Yeah, PIReporters.com is an online newspaper we started just when this COVID thing started. So we have a journalist who writes investigative articles once a week for PI Reporters and also puts up 2 articles a week for Business Entrepreneur Weekly. And it's a site where we look at Chatham-Kent issues and small business, which I'm really jacked up about, which we're talking about tonight. This is an interesting time to be in small business, and I've been in business all my life. And the question is, what do we do now? And that's what we talk about. So on that site, we have an article coming out tomorrow on Handy Brothers in Blenheim. So what's interesting is how do each of these industries handle what's happening today to be successful? And the other article is on a home and yard caring business. So how do those companies, continue to work to take care of their customers, be profitable despite what's happening? And that's the phase I think we're in now. So the question is, if you have that kind of a business, what do you do or what can you do to be successful? It's a challenge, but it's one that I think some people are going to take advantage of.
Awesome. And if you guys want to go check that out again, it's PIReporters.com. And tonight we got a couple topics that are pretty hot. Yesterday, I don't know if you guys are watching, you might have watched me go to the Boonies drive-in theater out in I think it's in Lakeshore, but it's just on the edge of Tilbury. But it's a drive-in theater, and it's really under the cinemas, so they can't open, even though you drive up, you're in your own car, you can watch a movie, the sound comes over your radio, so you dial it in. And then they get shut down. Henry, what's your first take on drive-in movies? Now, have you ever been to a drive-in movie?
Not since high school. So okay. That's been a very long time, Ben. A very, very long time. I didn't know they still are around. I'm amazed that they're still around. Good for them.
Well, they're making a comeback. And actually, when I got out there, I'm thinking, what a great business opportunity this is right here, given the situation that we're in with the COVID-19 virus going around and people socially distancing. This is a way for people and their families to get out, stay socially distanced, and do something. And it's harder and harder to find for families to do that.
Who shut them down? Did they open it? Did they open and have to shut down, or what happened?
Well, they didn't open. They were waiting. They're still waiting, but they're classified as a regular cinema, like a regular Cineplex, like all of them, which it clearly is not. Right. It really is not even close. So that's, I think, the issue is, there's got to be, in the past, we have all these rules and regulations and policies in place for normal days, for when the world is normal. But this is totally different, and it's new. And there's parts of industries that are totally different from each other. Going in, sitting beside somebody is totally different than sitting in your car 20 feet away from another car.
What would you do if you owned that business, Ben?
I would promote the heck out of it and open it up and say, hey, I'm not doing anything wrong.
Yeah, as long as
I'm not like everybody.
You do the best thing that you can, and people are in cars, and you have a system for going to get popcorn or whatever, however they deal with that. So I just think that common sense, this is really a test of common sense and leadership, right? This is a time when we're really, Warren Buffett talks about when the tide goes out, you see who's wearing a bathing suit. This is a different kind of analogy, but when the tide's going out now, we're really seeing who's stepping up and leading or who's deferring to other people. And I think that business owners, if you look at the United States, some business owners have actually stepped up and changed policy. So they try to throw people in jail, and then they turn around and say, well, I guess a hairstylist doesn't need to go to jail or something. So we almost see Canadians were so compliant. And then you see that thing in Toronto. We worked so hard for all these months to do what's right, but of course the premier had people over on Mother's Day. But you see people in a park, and my wife, who's very laid back, said, we should just put a wall up around Toronto and the rest of us should get on with our lives. And
Yeah.
I couldn't believe she said that, because that's pretty, that's pretty out of the box for what she's thinking. But every time you see this, you think, we've done all this. Let's get on with our lives. Why? Let's get on with business. Let's get our companies going.
Where do you see leadership? You talk about leadership, and this
Uh,
is a great situation for leadership because you can take a look and say, hey, this is different. It's an obvious difference. Now, the pick apart, if you wanted to pick something apart, is number one, how does food get to a car? They have somebody that will bring it out.
yep.
Okay, you order food, somebody brings it to your car. That's already in place for an idea for them, so they can do that. And that's no different than going through a drive-through. I went to get a burrito at Casada's. It's a burrito place here in Chatham, and I could go into the store and order
Mhm.
normally, and it felt good.
Yeah, it did.
So
I'm
these
sure.
things can be done.
Yep.
So it can be done. But how do you encourage local government to step up and say, hey, come on, let's do something here. This makes sense. They
Is
can
this a
open.
candid camera question, Ben, or what? Come on. The problem is, when you look at crisis leadership, during a crisis situation, we haven't seen that on very many levels. And it's defined by things like owning the decision, stepping up and taking action. How many times have you heard someone in a position of power say, I'm waiting to hear what the health people tell me to do, and then I will allow things to open? Well, that's
Right.
not how leaders act. What leaders do is they take all that information and they make a decision, and they realize that they're going to go down with the ship. They may not get reelected. They may not get reappointed to the board if they're a company, but they make a decision based on the best information at the time, and they take action and they spew confidence. They're not hiding and waiting to cut a ribbon to open a store or something. They're actually out there doing it. And this is what we don't see. I mean, at different levels, we're thankful that there's money given to people so that they can survive this while they're not home by our federal government. But we're into the next step now. We need action. We can't keep waiting for people. We have to take ownership. And you have to agree that you don't know. I mean, why don't they just
Right.
say, I don't know the answer. This is a new virus. I have no idea if face masks work. I have no idea. Instead of saying this and that, like let's just, so leadership is about, usually it's overcoming something you've done in your life. So you have an experience of this and you relish this opportunity. Like most people in their homes are leaders in their home right now. They're taking control of their homes. And that's what we're talking about, leadership. How do you take care, put confidence in your children and your partners at home? And how are you going to go ahead with your business? And we're seeing more and more of that. And we should celebrate that, because most of the leaders we see during crisis are homeowners and people living, not people in positions of power, but people who run businesses. Like people in Blenheim, I know the Fort McIntyre menswear store opened up. Those are leaders. They're out there doing things. They don't have to open,
Right.
but they're opening their stores. And that's what leadership's all about.
Awesome. I think we got something here. I can't say a whole lot, but I know at Cineplex we have plans starting to take shape for when we get the green light, which we are very patiently waiting for. And that's good. I like to see that. That's a tough one because people go there, they sit beside each other, they order food, they go to the washroom.
Mm-hmm.
Those are all things that are, in normal life
Right.
would just be normal. But I think what we're going to see is a big deal on the washrooms. That seems to be the hangup on a lot of places opening is
What's the
the
problem with
washrooms.
washrooms, Ben? Tell me what's going on with washrooms.
I myself feel I can go to the washroom, wash my hands, go to the washroom, and leave and be okay.
Sure,
But
you got
I
Crane, you
think
got
there's
hand sanitizer. What do you?
yeah, I think there's going to be there's a lot of fear, right? There's a lot of fear where people don't know. People are scared to death of hair salons, apparently, scared to death of gyms,
Yeah.
and scared of anything that has a washroom, right? But when you go to Walmart, you're just mashing in with other people. So
Yeah.
I think that's going to be an obstacle. I think washrooms are going to be a major obstacle for people to overcome in allowing businesses to open. And I don't think it should be that crazy obstacle because washrooms to me have always been scary. Washrooms to me have all public washrooms have always been scary, and I'm always extra cautious. And when I go to a public, like a rest stop, and I have kids, I'm always extra cautious with them. Making sure to inform them, hey, be clean, wash your hands, be clean, wash your hands. And I go overboard with it. But I believe people can get over this. I think
Well, a clean
it can be
bathroom in a
done.
business is going to be an asset. I've always thought that. Remember that Seinfeld episode where George was looking for the best bathrooms in New York? I mean, there's something about knowing where the best bathrooms are. And it's important because you've got children, you got family, and now it's going to be so people who had dumpy bathrooms, this has now magnified the problem. So COVID or this current situation has now made, the person with the business with the cleanest bathrooms, the best policies, to be that much better. And so I think you're going to see more and more of that. Things that we value now are going to be very different than they were before this happened.
I was driving by a business. There's a Chinese restaurant downtown Chatham, and I've always known it as the cleanest place there is.
Nice.
Always cleaning, always winning a cleaning award, always being clean. I think those are going to be big deals. Cleanliness and that almost that testimonial that you need. Because I was driving with my son, and we're driving by. I said, "That is the cleanest place. You'll never find anything cleaner." And I think being
go ahead, sir.
Go ahead. I think just having that, kind of that reputation of being extra clean is going to be a big deal.
Yeah. Well, I think the thing about too is what is the public's confidence going to be? You can say you have your theater open or your hair salon open, but are people going to really go? Like, are people really going to go to that store or that restaurant? Today, I heard a couple of things. I talked to a friend in Michigan today who is in a very conservative community, and he said he couldn't believe it the other day. He opened up his paper. They had a 30% discount for pot. And they had a hard time even getting it passed. So there's a coupon where you rip out and you take it to the local store. I don't know how they sell pot in this community, but there's a real change happening in his community that it's just blowing him away. He said, I never thought I'd live to see this. So there's many changes happening because businesses need to survive. And the other thing we haven't talked about is what happens to our economy and our businesses if, province, federal, and municipal lose 50% of their taxes.
Right. Because
that's coming. Nobody wants to talk about this, but there's no oil royalties to speak of that's going to be significant. No one's driving. There's so many businesses that are in trouble. So that when you look at what's going to happen, so talk about leadership, when all of a sudden in our community, they have $60 million less to spend. How are they going to handle that besides crying to Ottawa or Toronto? They don't have a clue. So, and it's the same as you go up the ladder. So we need to be very prudent with how we spend our money and what we do as a government. And we also have to let businesses like this, when you talk about the drive-in, the person should be just allowed to open their business, for crying out loud. It's a business.
Absolutely. Art, talking about scary public washrooms, LOL, I guess I joined at an awkward time. Yeah, that would be an awkward time to join in. But yeah, we were talking a little bit about public washrooms and business washrooms. And I think that's going to be one of the biggest deals. So when you see the social media mob later, and I think this is going to be tough for every business, it's managing the social media mob and having those good testimonials versus bad, scary testimonials
let's talk about bathroom. I'm thinking about you're stopping on the 401 and you go to the men's washroom, and you know how the urinals are very close. Are they going to have to tear out half of them? Are they going to have to put up plexiglass? Are they going to have a person in there working to clean all the time while you're in there, like they do in fancy restaurants? Like, this is a serious health issue, right? Like, how are you going to take care of that? Because everybody on the 401, if everybody starts driving again, they stop at those rest stops. How are you going to handle it? How are you going to make sure the public knows they're going to be safe? Because if people aren't traveling, and even in their cars, they're not buying gas, they're not going to local places like Erio or Mitchell's Bay, how are you going to get that? So there's all these, the other part about crisis leaders, and there's a number of them, is they think 3 or 4 moves ahead. They're not just focused on right now, how do I, not make a mistake? They're thinking about down the road. So as we open this up, how are we going to make the public feel confident that they can go to a local restaurant and go to the washroom and not have a problem?
Yeah, absolutely. Do you think a lot of it's going to be optics as well? One thing I like about casinos, Casino Windsor, no matter what, when you're in the washroom in Casino Windsor, Caesars Windsor now, there's always somebody just cleaning. It's the cleanest place. Like, to me, when I think the washroom in Windsor Casino, I think people cleaning. Do you think really optics of having somebody always around doing that is going to be a big deal?
It's going to be huge. And I think the whole cleaning industry, which if you talk about an industry that is set to take off, that has to be one, because I saw someone the other day, I have a commercial, I think it was on television, that talked about restoration, but also COVID cleaning. And they're actually starting to put this in their marketing. So the question is, first of all, someone has to tell us what is the appropriate way to clean for COVID, if there is such a thing that you have to worry about. And second of all, what companies and what businesses are doing it.
Absolutely. And I think Carrie's a lot like me. Greasy washrooms freaked me out before COVID-19. I would be worried about them after this. So again, I'm always worried about washrooms, especially anybody with kids is probably concerned about washrooms and being clean. I think there's really, only so many things that can be done. But, having that visual where you believe it's clean, your confidence clean, and then you take responsibility for yourself. At one point, we have to have people be responsible for themselves.
Yeah, and I think the hand sanitizer, I mean, years ago, I started using hand sanitizer because I just feel paranoid and I shake a lot of hands. So I started using hand sanitizer. I think you're going to have to use it all the time. You're going to have, you have it in your car, you have it in your pockets, you have it all over the place when you go out, and you use it before you enter, before you leave. You put it on your hands and do it properly before you eat anything, before you touch your face and so on. So there's going to be habit changings, but I think there has to be a level of confidence in the public that if they go to a restaurant or if they take a plane, think about planes and all the air circulating. Does it really matter how far apart you're sitting from someone if all the air circulates anyway?
Right.
I don't know. That's a science question or a chemistry question, but I don't know that because they're talking about taking out the middle seats, which we'd all love because you wouldn't have to deal with that.
Yeah.
But the point of all that is they can't be profitable.
Costs you double to get on a plane.
Yeah, they can't be profitable with that model. So these are the 2 steps, 3 steps ahead we haven't thought about yet. How are these businesses going to, take off once they stop getting the government assistance? I don't know. Theaters are another tough one.
Yeah. And Chris, it's coming, YA closing, Brick and Leon's closing. What's the trickle down? Let's talk about what happens. Wow. You got the landlord, you got the business, you got the business owners, you got the employees, you got the suppliers, you got the taxes. All these things factor into something shutting down, especially in Chatham-Kent, where a lot of commercial taxes. I mean, we got high commercial taxes. You know that. And if those,
I thought you were going to talk politics tonight, Ben. You promised me, didn't you?
Well, businesses, politics is busy. You can't get out of the two, right?
I know.
But when you see these closing, because a lot more people are getting more comfortable buying online as well.
Well, so let's be real. If you have a $200,000 value building commercial in Chatham-Kent, you're paying $8,000 to $10,000 in taxes. Okay, so if your mortgage is paid off for the rest of forever at current tax rates, you're going to pay $8,000 to $10,000. Now they can't. There's no room to raise. It should be down. It should be half of that if you compare it to other communities. We have waste. We have provincial waste. We have federal waste. So when we talk about less, the problem is we don't see an appetite for cutting things that need to be cut. We seem to cut things that shouldn't be cut, and we keep things we don't need. And that's been a pattern throughout generations. So the problem we're going to have is that group has no capacity to deal with the crisis. So people have to do it themselves. Like we talked about the drive-in theater owner, he needs or she needs to open their business and get on with it. There comes a certain point when you keep taxing people, businesses particularly, they find other ways to get the job done. So I don't know what that's going to do, at what point that curve goes when people stop, wanting to pay taxes at all. But you saw in Toronto, what did you think of the park? I thought that was more of a 2-step ahead thought about people don't seem to either care in certain situations or they just feel like they're entitled to do that. Like that whole park thing in Toronto. What did you think when you saw that and implications to business?
The park thing where everybody was kind of hanging out?
Yeah, really hanging out, yeah.
Well, you know
close.
What? It didn't shock me at all. That's happening everywhere. I think it's odd to see. And even when you're watching a movie or a show or something on TV that's a rerun or something that's been done, you're seeing people and they're close together. And we're actually thinking, man, this is kind of odd. They shouldn't be that close. So when you see something like, and it's crazy that we're talking about people at a park talking and hanging out with each other as being so crazy. I think that's the crazy point we got to.
Well, what was really encouraging for me today, I think I went to the Erie Marina because I was out fishing this morning. And before I went into the marina, I said, "What are the rules?" And they said, there was someone outside. They say, "We got some hand sanitizer by the door."
Yeah.
So I walk in, I use a hand sanitizer. Everybody's there's a few people in there. Everybody's keeping apart. People just using common sense. You don't have to legislate or threaten people. People aren't that, people were getting along. It was so refreshing to be in this Erie old marina where people were respecting each other. You did the hand sanitizer, you keep why can't we just get back to trusting people, get on with it? Why can't we just do that? And I think businesses are dying for that. That's why I think every business needs a plan and they need to open. I mean, you need a plan to how you're going to do it, respect the rules and what we know so far, which isn't a lot about this virus, and get on with business.
Yeah. We need more industry to help with the taxes, of course. Every community, Chatham Kent is definitely with that. I'm glad they I'm glad they experimented for us away from us. Now we can see what happens in a few weeks. And a lot of this United States is opening up, and you're seeing a lot of experiments going on. Really, I myself, with our low rates of everything, am not as concerned locally. Between taxes and the cost of electricity, it's hard for business to come here. I believe that's what he was getting at, industry. What are going to be the opportunities? How are we going to create more industry coming? Because I believe we're in, I don't think we've felt really the real problem that's developing because of the shutdown.
I think micro businesses, something that we're not set up to do, are going to be what people are going to want. So you're going to want to buy your meat from a butcher that the farmer, and it's going to be that much more localized, everything that we do. And I'm thinking industry is a different type of industry, and I think we sort of oversell that in this community because we've had it for a very long time. But if you drive around most of our communities, a lot of that industry is no longer with us. And so I'm not really sure about that piece. I know that people want services, and I know with a few changes, we could have incredible growth in our community, particularly for the aging population. But right now, the mechanism, we've talked about this before, the mechanisms aren't in place for those industries to take off, and that's unfortunate. So I think the people in business have to innovate themselves. I don't see a lot of new things coming this way because, for example, you talk to people in real estate, there's a demand, and we can't get enough housing for people. And so there's barriers somewhere. If there's a huge demand and there's businesses that want to create and meet that demand, but they can't, something has gotten in the way, and it's usually too much regulation and too much government. That's the big concern about the current crisis, along with the health issues and the tragedies, is the government continues to put more restrictions on people. And it's more accepted. We're accepting it now in the sense of it's for the common good, and that's great, and we're taking care. But the problem is this stuff doesn't usually leave us. There's more and more, restrictions on what you can do. Who would have ever thought you'd get arrested for jogging on the beach?
Absolutely.
They showed Port Stanley today. No one on the beach. You couldn't, if you're a resident of Port Stanley, you couldn't go for a run on the beach at 6 a.m. with no one on it. You get arrested. That's government overreach. They do that in places like Russia and China. We shouldn't be doing that to people. There's common sense. I mean, even this is the most concerning part, right? Is that there's more and more controls on business. And what business needs is less control.
Right.
Not more control.
Now, I read today somebody posted they do hair. They have a hair business, salon or whatever. And, when do people get together and start kind of protesting by just opening, right? They have bills to pay, they have rent to pay, they have mortgages, whatever. They still have to pay everything, and they're just not allowed to operate. When do you think they're going to finally, Canadians, now Americans are different. They usually go gung-ho and they just, go at it. But how long is it going to take to reach that pain point where
That's a great question, because what we're kind of at is a bit of a government bailout mentality versus business. So before school was out, every student in Canada knew they're going to get $1,200 a month. Every college student, every university student, get $1,200 a month to not work till end of August. Some of this is survival, so we're not saying it's bad. I'm just saying we've sort of changed the, it used to be, I know when most of us were in school, we had to go, do more business or work harder or take another part-time job, but that's not the
Right.
push now. And businesses realize this, and they may be the only ones because they know that very shortly this is going to end. There's going to be no more, freebies. And so how are we going to run our business? But there has been I guess a cumulative kind of change in attitude. So I think it's up to each individual business. And the innovation I'm saying is really exciting. I'm seeing some pretty exciting things happening on the innovation side for businesses who say, look, okay, it's been a couple months. The shock's over. How am I going to run my business when this government program's over? How am I going to pay my bills? How am I? And so they're doing different ways to run their businesses. And that's what's going to come from this. These incredible people who are going, we'll be telling, they'll be telling stories 10 years from now to their kids or their grandkids of how they survived this. And that's what's exciting about what's happening. And we have a lot of tough, smart people in our community that are going to do this.
I'm very thankful. My folks are my tenants in my Chatham home. They are retired and set. Landlord and tenant war is crazy right now. My heart goes out to all businesses right now. So tough. The landlord business is going to get a little bit tough, I believe, at the end of this. As restaurants have a hard time
Carrie makes a
recovering.
great point. And so there's commercial, right? We have some commercial and the businesses that I've been in real estate for 40 years. So we have commercial. We also have tenant properties, primarily on the East Coast. And I think it's, again, it's like before. If you manage before this, it's better now. All of our rents, and we offered to in certain situations on the commercial side to, abate rent for a period of time. We give people all kinds of choices, and sometimes but on the residential side, everyone pays rent. We work with them if they can't, but they all do. We respect each other, but you have to take care of people before this happened. The bad landlords you hear about, they're not professional. The people that are in it and take care of their people, you work together and you come out with this at the other end. So to me, the issue is, making it open for more of aging in place. And we have such an opportunity to take advantage and help people age in place that we could do starting now, but we have too many restrictions in our community and many communities in Ontario and other parts of Canada. So there's a lot we can do, but I think, yeah, there's difficult times with real estate, but would you rather be in stocks? Would you rather be in, what other investment would you have than a building where you have people that are living and taking care of it for you?
Good evening. I may have not called around enough to groomers, but are pet groomers open? My old dog Diesel needs his nails done professionally so he can walk properly. I do believe I saw somebody do a Facebook Live that they were open and they were dog groomers.
Lisa, that's a great name for a dog, Diesel. I think that's a serious dog, Diesel. That's a good
Lisa, what kind of dog is it? Is it a big tough dog or is it
it's gotta be
a little
tough.
tiny dog? Are you thinking a tough dog or a little tiny one?
I'm thinking
although the tiny ones are very tough.
I'm thinking a gritty dog, whatever size, whatever kind it is.
Ben, we need less spending at the top outside of Canada. How much has the Prime Minister given away outside of Canada industry? Businesses are forced to close for the most part. He gave the World Health Organization 850 million and farmers 150 million. That's a disgrace. Again, that's getting into a little bit more politics.
Well, the question though, Ben, that Ben brings up as well is what's our relationship going to be with China as far as businesses, and how will there be a need for local businesses to, someone talked about industry. I probably got it all wrong. There may be a real growth industry that's now being done in China, which soon will be coming back to Canada. We've talked about their human rights issues. We have people in prison there just because they're reporters. So there's that may be another, you talk second, third tier. What's going to happen with our relationship and how will that impact local business and opportunities? And I think that we do have manufacturing in our communities that probably will take advantage of that. And hopefully other small niche businesses. I really think it's going to be more of a service industrial, sort of a service / industrial economy where you will buy products that are made in your community or your province or your country. And I think that's what we should be relying on because that's security, right? If you know you can make your products here, look at the vaccines. How many different countries are trying to create a vaccine because they don't trust another country that gets one to share it? Like we're doing all kinds of vaccines. The Americans are in Britain, China, and everybody's doing it not just because they want to, find a solution, but they don't trust each other.
Right.
especially America, where Trump said he's going to keep all until all the Americans are vaccinated, no one else gets any. So there's this sort of I think an opinion that we need to take care of ourselves, which I think was coming through with Ben's comment, which will be an advantage to small business if they can take advantage of that.
Yeah. Lisa says it's a King Shepherd mix. That's the type of dog that she was talking about. Diesel.
King, what's a king dog? I know Shepherd. What's a king?
King
Sorry, I don't
Shepherd.
want to distract too much, but I just wanted
Let's go to Nicole. In my opinion, is fear of getting a fine. It's fear of getting a fine. So some go ahead and open, but not everyone stands together. I mean, let's face it. Every salon in Chatham opened. What are they going to do? Fine everyone? And if so, will that hold up in court of law? I wish people would all stand together and open if they needed to. And I'm totally with Nicole here myself, and I've talked about this before, Henry.
I agree.
They have to get together. The businesses that want to open, they have to get together. They have to have a meeting. But I see that. I see the salons. I do see some not wanting to and many wanting to. So how do you get them all on the same board? Because if some open, they say they feel fine and they open and they have a bunch of things in place to make it as safe as possible. And then you have some who are very, very scared, calling the snitch lines that they've put out there and the authorities of whatever on them. How is that going to work out? How do people, again, in the States, they're more likely to get together quicker, but in Canada, it seems we're a little bit behind on getting together as a team. And that's what I mean by like a protest or opening, kind of like what she's mentioning. How do they go about that? Well, who's the leader there?
What I would do is I would look at my own, if I was a hair salon owner, I would look at where has this been done already and opened properly. And I would call them and say, what precautions do you have in place if I didn't know what to do? And I would set my shop up that way. And I'd set an opening date and I would open. And I would have the best science behind me as far as plexiglass or how we wash or whatever we do. And I would open and have appointment only, so no one's in the waiting room. I think they've talked about no more chairs and whatever you have to do to get going in your business, because you have to do this. This is like, people don't understand. It's like telling a farmer that you have to harvest your crop, but wait a minute, we're not going to let you harvest your crop for a month or two. Well, then the snow's going to come if the corn has to. So farmers do things, and this is what the urgency of business today. Businesses that I see being successful and working through this they feel this sense of urgency. And they're, and this is what you saw. We talk about the pizza guys and the other people who do different things. You just do it. And I think it has to be done on an individual basis. I don't think you can wait for anybody else. And please don't wait for government. You have to take it on yourself and you have to do what you think is right. And in the end, that's what matters.
Yeah. Now, the first one that breaks through the wall and opens, does that set the tone for other people? Will other people kind of follow and say, hey, listen, let's do it? And everybody really at this point, it's about doing the best they can to be safe.
Right.
With the information that they have at the moment. That's all they can really do.
I think people don't understand the credibility issue. And we've talked about this before, but when you tell a hair salon owner that they can't do certain things because there's a rule and we have to be safe, and then the people who run the province break all the rules because they're in a position of power, they lose all credibility. So to try to give someone a ticket for opening a hair salon when you are the premier of the province and you purposely broke a rule to have your family over for Mother's Day when no one else could because you're running the show, and now you're trying to give someone a ticket for, come on, a hair salon, a business, they need to do it. Survival. This is what they have to do.
Is real estate going to explode again in Chatham Kent after COVID? Is the mass exodus from large cities going to be larger than before COVID? Overall, real estate prices might go down across Canada, but not here. I think there's an actual incredible opportunity in Chatham Kent because of the spacing that we have.
You can't build in the country, Ben. You can't build in the country.
Yeah.
Our bylaws are so ridiculous. You couldn't take an acre lot and build a nice house in the country.
Yeah. Well, I'm going to the possibilities phase. Let's go to the possibilities that, you could change something, even though it's going to be very, very difficult. But there is an opportunity. And I do see the problem that people are in the bigger cities are going to have is that they've been relying for the last couple of years on people that are new to Canada, buy in Toronto, buy in Vancouver, and they spread out. But we're going to see a shortage of that.
Two things. You just need two things. You need 1 2-acre lot permission. So you have to let someone say, okay, we can do 1 acre lots in the country. Maybe you limit the 3 on a property, whatever, but you have to allow it on a septic and on a drilled well. You have to allow off-grid living, and you have to allow seniors duplexes in the country. We would have so many people come here. Our communities would be so full of seniors, people my age, 60s, who want to come from Toronto, who would do this tomorrow. If they can get an acre. We talked about this before. We're doing this out east because on the East Coast, you can buy we did it. We bought a 1.5 acre lot in the country. We made it into 3 lots, half an acre each. And we built these incredible properties. We just finished the building May 1st of this year. You can do it in some provinces. If we could do it here in this community, 1 acre lots, 2 acre lots with septics, you would have so many people want to come here. It would be incredible. The building for just great, but you can't because it's not allowed. And I don't think there's any will to do it in our community. I mean, it's just not, it's ridiculous. Sorry. Why'd you get me started on this?
It was Jeff. It was Comiskey.
Jeff,
how you started.
Jeff, how can we make this happen? Because I'm telling you, we talk about what's happened with seniors. Aging in place in a shared care environment with a duplex is a model we've had for 5 years. And this is not hard to do. So you've got 3 or 4 people live on each side of a duplex. They have their own room with a bathroom. They have 1 caregiver or 2 that take care of the 6 or 8 people that live there, and they age in place. Best technology, they have a garden, best food. Take care of people the way they should be taken care of, not in these nursing factory homes, but in a place where they actually enjoy the rest of their days. We could have these all over Chatham-Kent. And can you imagine the influx of, and we're talking good paying jobs. We're talking PSWs who are assigned to a building where they work with as a team. And they do these models in Europe. This isn't new. This is incredible quality, and it would be incredible for our community. I mean, the amount of building that would go on and new people and new money in our communities would be, and all the other services, you got to cut the grass, you got to take care. I mean, it would be crazy. Wouldn't be that difficult, Ben.
Well, someone needs to run for council on that platform. Thinking,
yeah,
Jeff.
Well, someone could do it tomorrow if we had crisis leaderships. The people there today could do that. They could have a little meeting and they could do it. And if people in Toronto didn't like it because they're using up an acre of farmland, they could say, take us to court. But we're going to do it because it's best for our community. We need to do this. We have carpenters, electricians, all of that.
Jeff might run. Let's see Jeff run. I'd vote for Jeff.
I would Jeff too. I'd help him. Yeah, he's good stuff.
Groomers are open, but they have a long wait list. I cannot get in until mid-June. Just keep calling around and see if anyone is just doing nails in the meantime.
Is that something, eh?
So I think there'll be a long wait list for everything. Let's see here. Ben, exactly. Made in Canada will make Canada strong. Are we going to see more made in Canada, made local?
I believe more so because, America, we're not too connected to, I guess, in some ways, but I think Canada always was that way. And I think we're getting back to that. And we're going to be asking more questions about where did our food come from? Where was I didn't know so many pharmaceutical medications were made in China. I didn't know that until this crisis. I thought most of them were made in Canada or America. So we need to develop more of that. And that comes with a combination of, are we going to accept to pay more for things? I mean, do you want to, at what point does the price affect having made in Canada?
Absolutely. That's a very good question. At least properly trained hairstylists are trained in sterilization and sanitation to prevent the spread of pathogenic bacteria. So they're already trained to do that, I know. They have an edge. They have an edge on everybody. And you know what? And it comes down to, do you trust? When you walk into a place, you got to be willing to walk back out or go through with it with the service. And I believe, I feel I'm capable of going in somewhere and saying, I'm either comfortable or not comfortable. And I can deal with the result of that. And, if they're taking more and more steps, I feel more and more comfortable. If there's not as many steps being taken, I feel less comfortable. But So
I have a question for you. Why can't one of the 2,200 employees for our municipality, why can't someone have a website where every day you can go on and see everything that's open and what the restrictions are in your community? So if I want to, if you just mentioned Chinese food, I didn't know there was such a great clean Chinese food in Chatham. I love Chinese food.
The
So
cleanest.
if they say, okay, Chinese food, this is how you order, this is how you pick it up, whatever, like, why don't we have that?
Yeah. Well, I think it's mostly what I have witnessed is it's mostly the province making the decisions and the municipalities just following along. Now, in the States, the governor makes a decision and the mayor can fight it, apparently. But I haven't seen anybody locally pushing against anything that the province says. Do
Well,
you know what I
because
mean? There's no
they,
pushback.
yeah, but the municipal act allows them to do so many things without even thinking about Toronto, and it takes crisis leadership to step up and say it doesn't matter what Toronto says. We've had hardly any COVID in our community, so here's what we're going to do for hairstylists in our community. If you don't like it, take us to court. We have lawyers on retainer. What are they doing all day, right? If you had a lawyer on retainer, or a few of them, would you be afraid of Toronto? Because you don't have to pay a lawyer. What are they going to do to our mayor? Are they going to throw our mayor in jail? Are they going to throw a councillor? No. Do whatever you want. This is what's best for the community. We need this in our community. And so I think, it's time to step up, and everybody, it's just, you're not going to see, everyone wants to defer, right? Well, you have to own it. Any company, if you own a company, Ben, and you have 3 employees, and one employee makes a mistake, and you own the company, who made the mistake?
You made the mistake.
Right, because you own the company. You have to own that, even though it's your place. We never see that in this, what you talk about in politicians. They don't say it's my mistake. Even the face mask person.
Right.
She says, well, you don't need a face mask. Then it's dangerous to wear a face mask. Now you need to wear a face mask. And someone said to her, well, how did you jump from that to that to that? She said, well, it was the best decision at the time. Well, maybe, but she could have said, I made a mistake. Right. It's okay. I was wrong. There's nothing wrong with that.
Things have to change. People are dealing with too much stress. I heard today about a suicide of a business owner. Very sad. I have no issue with people who are afraid and want to self-isolate. On the other side, if people need to open, they need to be able to. Cost and risk needs to look at the mental health implications that is causing people to do things. So can you speak to that a little bit about on the business side there, Henry, of how business owners and mental health, if you don't mind?
Yeah, because, Nicole brings up a really important point. One of the things we talk about is being able to control things around you and your own destiny. And this is taking that away from people in business who are very much entrepreneurial and make their own decisions and take control. So when you take that away from people, it often can lead to depression and other mental health issues. And as I've said before, people need to have a priority list. And if you're a crisis and you need to open your business, take care of your family, you need to do that. If you need to open up your business because you have to take care of your own mental health and you have to take care of your employees, you have to do that. You have to find a way to do it safely, and you have to get as much advice as you can. But in the end, you have to own that. And as soon as you consider that possibility, you'll feel better because you'll start to take action. And taking action is what we need to do. This is an incredible opportunity, even though on the one side we have some difficult things we have to face. For us to do this now is an incredible opportunity in our community. And I think one of the reasons you could argue that people don't want other communities like ours to start ahead of other communities because they don't want us to have an advantage. They don't want people to get thinking about, well, geez, we'll move to Chatham-Kent because they're open. They've only had a few COVID cases. They do this, they do that. They have the lake. I mean, folks, this is such an opportunity, but we can't talk about it. We can't do anything with it because we're not allowed to because people in Toronto are partying on the weekend.
Yeah, so here's where I see the great opportunity is on the competitive edge. We have the lowest COVID rate of anybody. There's really limited cases compared to anybody. If we pushed forward, and said, let's open as safely as possible. And anytime we say open, I mean, when I say that, as safely as possible. Okay, not just flip a switch, as safely as possible where everybody's comfortable and safe. I think there's a great opportunity to kind of fight for opening our community and compared to everybody else because we have an edge. We already are safer naturally. And I think that's a good thing to promote. that we are safer than everybody, already. So that's already built in. I think that's a great
Well,
opportunity.
the other day I was thinking, I was having a bit of a brainstorming. If I was 30, what would I do today? What would I start as far as a business goes? And I would definitely start a cleaning sanitation company. I would hire a chemist on consulting contract to give me the facts about the chemistry of a virus and how you kill it. I would have that certified. I would have a COVID certification, sanitizing and cleaning business. And whether it's a restaurant, I'd have a special program for restaurants, hairstylists. I might come in every night with my team and do your place, a business, hotels. But I would have a chemist. And the thing I've learned about chemists, because I hired one to help me understand landfill leachate, which is that junk that spews from landfills. And a chemist will tell you the chemistry. They don't have any political or just chemistry. I would do that. And the second thing would be a home oasis or a home building kind of program where you go into a house and you make it, you're not going to travel, whether it's virtual reality plus backyard gardens, that kind of thing. I would be in that service business as well as something for seniors. So those are the three things I would do. The seniors, I would do the sanitizing, cleaning, and the home sort of service business to make your home a place of refuge when you come home.
Awesome. This is my mom, Marco Labadie. Hi, Mom. My nail lady, Christine, already uses all the precautions. I feel completely safe and can't wait to get back. I think my mom gets her nails done more than anybody, but she's already feeling
How does your
comfortable.
mom know that if she hasn't been back? Should I ask that question?
Well, she knows that because she went before and they're already in place.
And she can't, the nail folks can't work? Are they still?
They can't work.
They can't work.
Yeah. So with all those, because they're already doing the safety precautions, right? Like the one person said, hairstylists are already taking many actions already. Nail people are taking, I don't know what to call the nail technician.
By the way, Ben, is there still no dates for these businesses to open? Like, is it still not, by June 5th, we're going to open?
I haven't seen anybody put out a date for salons or spas and stuff like that, other than they will be the last, the last.
Because here's the problem with the statistics. Every day I caught another clip of our premier talking about the rates are up, or it was our Minister of Health. The rates are up in the province. It's meaningless. What we need to know is how many people are in the hospital, how severe are they, and what is the relationship between the number of people you test and the number of people that you found positive. No one talks about that. So if tomorrow there's 1,000 people in Ontario who have COVID, let's pretend there's 1,000 people who have COVID. It doesn't tell you how many we tested to get that 1,000. Did we suddenly test 25,000 people to get that 1,000? How many of them are active? How many are not active? So they say, well, until the number goes down, we're not opening hair salons. Well, that's a meaningless statement because we don't know. It's based on what people do. So it's
right.
It's not real science. And this is what has to be frustrating for these salon owners and so on, because there's no real, clear thing they can use to know when they're going to open again.
Yeah. Nail technicians have extensive sanitation and safety training if they have been to school, and I believe many have. Let's see here.
You did.
Thoughts on fees for deliveries or taxation on deliveries into Chatham-Kent from online retailers? That's not a good idea. Think it was part of a recent study. Thoughts as these delivery trucks use our roads and wear down our infrastructure, but pay no taxes in our community. Amazon, of course, Wayfair, Sport Check Online, Ontario Cannabis Store. The list goes on and on. Delivery trucks coming from other areas. Now, Sport Check, I heard that they actually come from the local store. I'm not sure about that, but that's what I hear. But yeah, you have all this influx of product coming from Amazon or Amazon stores, where it could be from anywhere, Wayfair, and many other stores. What's your thoughts on that?
What do you think, Ben? You want to give the government more money to waste through taxes? Come on. Even if you collect it and say it's for the roads, it's not going on the roads. And if it was on the roads, they would spend such an outlandish amount of money that it would be a waste of tax dollars. You don't want to give them more money and more control, and you don't want more taxation, because then you're going to tax the local guy for delivering pizza, perhaps, or whatever. So I just, okay, it's a maybe a small business stance, but I don't believe more taxation on business is a good thing. And I don't believe giving government more money to waste is a good thing. That's my 2 cents.
Right. I agree with you, Ben, but what happens if we open back up, all these businesses get back into regular routine, and boom, another outbreak, and everything gets shut down again by the government? Scary. So this is no matter what you do, no matter when you open, we're always going to be having this in the back of our mind that it could happen again, and it could be a boom. And I think this is for the rest of our lifetime.
Well,
We're sitting here for the rest of our lifetime. In the back of our minds, things could shut down because of a COVID, second, third, fourth, fifth wave, or a new virus.
I don't think you're
that
ever going
someone.
to see this shut down again, although they're saying it, because the public, I think, will finally not stand for it. And secondly, of course, there's going to be a second and third wave because everyone's going to leave their houses and interact, and there'll be more. The question is it going to be dangerous? Is it going to be, are there going to be more people that are, what is the statistic on hospitalizations based on how many people are diagnosed? That seems to be going down.
Mhm.
How do we explain, like, we're just not talking about this enough to say, and it's sort of like they're throwing it out there, saying, just get ready, because if you, too many people connect, you're going to, and as we've said before, it was in the White House, the prime minister's wife had it. It doesn't matter what you do, we're going to be exposed. The question is how we respond to it, what we do about it. And if we know what we can do, we'll do our best, and we need to get on with our lives. We can't continue to do this.
Mm-hmm.
That's
Let's
my
see, we got
opinion.
another one. Thoughts on Fed's plan for 10 days paid sick leave? Good idea. If sick, stay home, of course. But once again, we'll challenge small business owners. Employees may get 2 to 3 weeks vacation and now 4 or 5. Most small business owners do not get too many days off. If the feds cover the cost for it, I guess we will figure out with a huge debt load we have if they push to the employer, just one more stress on businesses that are already pushed to the brink.
Ben, who's going to
So they
pay
were
for
talking
this?
about the business would.
So
Right?
the business
The
owner,
owner.
like if you're Joe's Landscaping and you've got 3 employees and they
Mhm.
want to take they have to take 10 days off, Joe has to pay them the salary for 10 days.
Right. That's what I believe would be it. How else would it possibly work? Does that open up if that went through, does that open up way too many, are you going to be allowed to see somebody's health records after?
I don't think so. I think this is very much on an honor system because they're talking. I heard Mr. Trudeau or Prime Minister Trudeau say if you had a sniffle, you shouldn't have to go to work.
Mm-hmm.
Because if you're afraid if you have a sniffle, you might have COVID. Well, I mean, I'm getting allergies, right? I have allergies. So I don't know. I mean, I think the small business owners who have 1, 2, 3, 5, 20 employees, how are they going to afford this?
Yeah. And you have to think some people have abused sick days before in the past. Not saying that everybody would, but it's been done.
Well, they have compared the public to the private sector, and there's a difference. Let's just say that.
Mm-hmm.
As far as sick days.
All right. Let's see here. What else we got?
Most business owners, by the way, never take a day off. I mean,
right.
You can't.
It's impossible.
No.
In my opinion, they need to get antibodies testing immediately to test who has had the virus already. Swabs only tell you if they currently have. I've sent an email to the health unit, and there's no antibodies testing approved in Canada. So this is one thing I believe strongly needs to be done where people who may have had it would give us a ton of information, right?
How would that help us, Ben?
Well, I believe so. For people that think they may have had it, I believe there'd be less worry. If you knew you had antibodies, you could go out and live like a normal human.
No, because the rules
right?
wouldn't let you do that. You couldn't show your app or your card and say, I'm clean, I can hang out on the beach, even though most people can. They wouldn't let you do that.
Unless they had a great antibodies testing thing.
Well,
if
the
they
false
had that,
negatives,
then
the false positives are so huge. The last one I heard was 15% false positives. So 15% of the people think they're immune, but they're not.
Right.
Like the testing's not that accurate.
Yeah. Well, let's just go with if they did have an incredible accurate test. Let's just future that. An
Okay.
incredible, and there will be at one point. Let's go with
Mhm.
the actual, say there was. Do you think that would help? But would it really separate people? Like if I were to look at something like that, do you have a antibodies card? You'd want to hire those people more than anybody else.
Boy, that just opens up such a can of worms for small business, right? I mean, you're going to have to check
Yeah.
cars before you come in. I mean, I just think, we have to have a very simple set of precautions. You wear a mask perhaps right now, you wash your hands, you limit distance if you can, and get on with it. I mean, all this sounds really great and it's theoretical, and someone believes it's a good idea, but I don't think it's very practical.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, how do you enforce it? How do you test people? We can't get people tested. I guess today they said you can get tested. I was wondering, where do you go to get tested right away, Ben? Can you get tested in Chatham-Kent right away? Because they said regardless of symptoms right now, you can get tested in Ontario.
Mm-hmm.
Where do you go get tested, Ben?
I think Emma Street's right by the hospital, and they have a little COVID center.
So you walk in, what if 10,000 people want to get tested today?
Then I think there'd be quite the line, and it would be a long line with 6 feet in between each person.
And how would that benefit you other than, I guess you'd be quarantined if you found out you were a carrier, even if you had no symptoms? Is that what happens?
I think if anything, it would be for your mind. But if you're, I guess, asymptomatic or whatever, and you had it, you'd then be told then you'd be confined to your house.
But we already know conservatively that 10 times the people that have been diagnosed have it and are out there and have never had a symptom, and no one knows about them. Mm-hmm. The California study was 25%, by the way. So does it really matter?
Yeah. I guess, and I think I think psychologically it would give you peace of mind to know exactly if it was accurate. I don't know. I don't know what it would do. I'm at a loss. People say that the pandemic will change us forever, but I wonder if the concept of hedonic adaptation will set in. Psychologically, humans cannot maintain a level 10 anxiety level forever. We will eventually return to baseline.
Benjamin makes a good point about the fact that people can't keep doing this. We're seeing more and more troubles with addictions and all the other side effects to this stuff. So that's why when people say, well, if there's an increase in cases, we're going to go back to shutdown. I don't see that happening because I don't think people can do this for another 6 months or 5. There'll be no economy left. There'll be no businesses left.
Yeah. Let's see here. COVID-19 is here to stay forever, so build up your immune systems and practice what we've learned about washing and distancing and get back to work. I think the number one thing you can do is be healthy as you can.
We haven't heard a lot about the demographics of people who get sick other than seniors in nursing homes. So we really don't know what types of pre-existing illnesses are related. We have some ideas. So that's a concern as well. But that would help us if we knew that. And they don't seem to want to tell us that information. They don't even collect the information in many parts of the world. So we're not sure about that.
Right.
Back to business. I really think it's a time to sit and look at this situation, even if there is a vaccine someday or an adequate treatment. What does this mean for business, and how can you move forward to build a business that's going to help people solve some of these problems?
Mm-hmm. What percentage of people will self-sign into a possible tracing app the feds might roll out? Less than 10%, 11, 20, 21% or higher. What about this tracing app? And what if people sign? I don't think they would.
No.
To trace and distance, but if that was at your business, you have 10 people, 20 people, or that would be kind of interesting.
Well, the problem too, of course, is then you're suddenly getting called all the time. So let's say you happen to be around someone who had this. Pretty soon, everyone's going to be self-isolated again because you're going to be around somebody.
Right.
So what does that mean? What do you do? And then there's that access to information, right? Who has access to the information?
Absolutely. And let's see here. What else do we got to talk about? Any other questions there?
Well, the other part of the app is, think about this. If they had this accurate app, they could tell you, they could say, well, you were on the beach last night at midnight, Ben, running. We're going to send you a ticket in the mail. So it would be like those photo things that, where you have photo speed things. They'll just
Right.
send you tickets automatically. You went to to dinner someplace and you shouldn't have. So here's your ticket. See, this is the government's. It's just not a good idea, guys.
Awesome. Hey guys, we have now reached the
Wow.
hour mark. That was a very quick hour. That went by very quick. And this is the first time we've done the Business Entrepreneur Weekly on on my personal Facebook page. Let us know if you liked it, the content that you would like, any questions that you might have, or issues that you would like us to bring up for our next episode, which will be 8 o'clock next week, and go on from there. And anything you want to end with saying?
No, I was just going to say, if you go to pireporters.com, you can get the paper for free for 30 days. Just type in 30, the number 30, and days, lowercase, and it's free for 30 days, and then you can cancel anytime you want. But read some of our articles, support our journalists as we try to tell the story of Chatham Kent and also business entrepreneurs. It's two separate papers.
Yeah, so it's pireporters.com that you can go to, and Business Entrepreneur Weekly, reporting local business. Now, that's all local stuff, right? I know it says
it's all local.
business.
Yeah, there's nothing outside of Chatham Kent. And we try to focus on all the communities. So there's Hendy Brothers and Blenheim this week. We try to talk about different, and it's about supporting what we need to do entrepreneurial. As we get through this, we're going to do other articles on different things. But I'm excited about the startups again. I think once we get through this, we're about to launch some startup stuff, and then we had all this going on. So we're going to be doing some more of that once we start moving into more getting on with things. So let's get on with stuff and let's take action.
Awesome. Well, thank you guys. Thank you, Henry, again.
Thanks, Ben.
And tune in tomorrow night. We'll be talking about a lot of other stuff. 8 p.m.
Mental health, yeah.
We'll be back on. Absolutely.
Take care.
All right. Thank you, guys.